Namaste and good evening, everyone. I, Suniti Agarwal, Senior Research Assistant at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav, एवं नीति अनुसंधान संस्थान, New Delhi, extend my heartiest welcome to you all to IMPRI #Web Policy Talk. Today, we are gathered here for our special talk, The State of Employment and Livelihoods in India, Trade Union Perspectives, and the Way Forward amidst coronavirus pandemic, which is being delivered by Ms. Amarjeet Kaur under the series The State of Employment and Livelihood #Employment Debate. This talk is being organized by IMPRI Center for Work and Welfare along with Counterview. We are fortunate to have Ms. Amarjeet Kaur as the speaker of the session, Reverend Father Dr. Denzil Fernandes as the chair of the session, and Dr. Sonia George, Professor K.R. Shyam Sundar, Dr. Sharad Kumari, and Dr. Swarna Sadasivam Vepa as the discussants of the session. It's an absolute honor of mine to introduce you to the chair of the session, Reverend Father Dr. Denzil Fernandes, who is the Executive Director of the Indian Social Institute, New Delhi. It is my privilege to introduce you to the speaker of the session, Ms. Amarjeet Kaur. Ms. Kaur is an Indian politician and National Secretariat member of the Communist Party of India. She is the General Secretary of the All India Trade Union Congress. She is the first woman in independent India to be at the helm of one of the central trade unions. Prior to her position at the All India Trade Union Congress, Ms. Kaur was the second woman Secretary General of the All India Students Federation and General Secretary of the National Federation of Indian Women. She is a trade unionist who breaks gender barriers and is an eminent activist who takes part in media discourses regularly. It's my pleasure to be present among such esteemed panelists, and now I would like to introduce Dr. Sonia George, Professor K.R. Shyam Sundar, Dr. Sharad Kumari, and Dr. Swarna Sadasivam Vepa. Dr. Sonia George is the Secretary of Self-Employed Women's Association, Kerala. Professor K.R. Shyam Sundar is a professor of the Human Resource Management area at the Xavier School of Management, XLRI, Jamshedpur, Jharkhand. Dr. Sharad Kumari is the State Program Manager at the ActionAid Association of Bihar and Jharkhand. And Dr. Swarna Sadasivam Vepa is the Honorary Visiting Professor at the Madras School of Economics, Chennai. I would now like to request the chair of the session, Reverend Father Dr. Denzil Fernandes, to give his opening remarks, which will be followed by the deliberation on the topic by the speaker of the session, Ms. Amarjeet Kaur. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunidhi and IMPRI for organizing this web policy talk on the state of employment and livelihoods in India, trade union perspectives, and the way forward amidst the coronavirus pandemic. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic, which had started in the beginning of last year, is still continuing. And last year, we already had noticed that a lot of suffering took place because of the pandemic. Especially, a lot of people were unemployed. Unemployment was rampant. And what's more important is during the pandemic time, the government brought in various legislations, the codes, which especially the code on industrial relations, especially because we are talking about the trade union perspectives, where the negotiating power of the workers has been reduced. The trade unions have been weakened. And not only that, laws were introduced in many states, increasing working hours, and so on and so forth. So while the pandemic created a lot of suffering to workers, it increased unemployment, it increased also precarious work in the country. and over and above the legal framework for which the collective bargaining, which is an important pillar in decent work paradigm of ILO, this has been weakened, during the pandemic time. And so I think it is very important to listen to the trade union perspective of how we need to move ahead in these times, because the way the road ahead looks very challenging and difficult, especially as far as collective bargaining is concerned. And therefore, mobilization of workers, mobilization of the people is very much important in this regard. And we have very eminent speakers. I don't want to spend much time with my opening remarks. We have a very eminent panel. We have, Amarjeet Kaur, who is well known and trade union leader. And we have eminent people, eminent discussants of various fields, academics and those who are in the field working with unorganized labor and so on. So it's very important to listen to all these speakers, the main speaker, as well as the discussants. And towards the end, we will try to see whether we can explore ways of moving ahead in these times. So without wasting much time, I call upon Amarjeet Kaur to take the floor and give your address.
Thank you, Denzil Fernandes ji. And thank IMPRI for arranging this lecture today. And along with me, some very important persons are there, discussants. Their comments will be very important. And naturally, collectively, all of us have to move, those who are in academia, those who are in research, those who are in field work, those who are in teaching, those who are into organizing and agitating. Everybody has to play its role in the particular subject which we are talking about. It's not only the trade union's concern, it is concern of all of us. As regards the topic today, I would try to stick to that, because within half an hour I'll try to complete, as I am told, on this state of employment and livelihood in India, trade union perspective and the way forwards. And that is, we are discussing during coronavirus pandemic situation. Now, all of us know that in the first lockdown, which without any preparations or without taking whole nation into confidence, and especially those who mattered in this situation, be political parties or the movements, trade unions or the farmers, women or the students or youth or the social organizations or the institutions who have been working and helping at the grassroots level to the Indian masses. Nobody was taken into confidence, and that sudden lockdown in a way was a sudden lockdown of whole of economy. As per 2011 census, we have been talking about 47 crore workforce, labor force as per NSSO. But actually, if you look after 10 years, that means when we are speaking in 2021, this number from 2011 onwards, when the pandemic began in beginning of 2020, when India noticed it and WHO announced it as health emergency, it was already 9 years had crossed. Report came in 2011, but the study began before that for collation of data. So according to us, it is about 50 crore people into the labor force by the time we had reached 2020 beginning. Now only the government sector and the public sector, the essential services and the government sector, only they were functioning. whole rest of the economy was just put on hold. And the result was construction sector closed, so about 5 crore workers were suddenly not having any work. 9.5 crore agri workers were not having any work. Domestic workers lost, hawkers and vendors, rickshaw pullers, e-rickshaw walas or auto or taxis, everybody lost their job. All those who are dependent on MSMEs and related activities in the home sector as a piece rate workers, they all lost jobs. All small markets were closed, so all those people who were around those markets, maybe loaders, unloaders, or working on shops, or whatever little work everyday casual they were getting, they all lost the job. So in this manner, I'm not naming everything because tourism industry also had suddenly stopped. So everything connected with tourism, not only vehicles, but the hotels also. And those people who get indulged into those activities at tourist places also, everybody lost job. And the result was it is crores and crores of workers. Even though various surveys and studies put it that in April 2020, every hour 1,70,000 people were losing job. Every hour. In the month of April 2020, lockdown had begun on 24th March from the night. Then another estimate of that period was that about 122 million, 12.2 crore workers had lost jobs, including agrarian workers. And they also said that half of the wage earners could never get job back, even when the opening up began in 2020. These are the stated figures out of surveys and studies. But if you ask me, I would say almost more than 40 crore people lost their wage-related jobs, or without wage-related jobs, their livelihood fully in whatever form it was. And that's why perhaps ILO said that in India, 40 crore people will become more poor than they were earlier. Whole of supply chain was also disrupted. Now, in such a situation, what we found then later, because that has a lot to do with what happened in the second wave and what is the present situation if we have to address that question. At that stage, when the so-called opening up began, the Manufacturers Association came out with a grassroots study, and they said that 34% of our MSMEs are fully dead. They will never open. And about 33% of them we have started working, but we have not reached even 50% mark. Slowly and slowly we will try to see to it by end of December or beginning of 2021, maybe we will be in full-fledged work. And they also said that another 33% MSMEs means medium, small and micro enterprises. This is the sector which gives vast majority of work to Indian people. So they said that we will try to begin. After this section is over, then if we get support, that 33% will try to begin its work. That means they were to begin by January 2021 or so. So that was the related situation if we talk about it from that time. And what are the estimates in 2021? The estimates are, which are underestimates, because CMIE, when it gives its research reports, they always take their database who are little at a higher level than the very, very downtrodden sections. So, but even if we go by that, they said that 9.78% in rural India and 7.13% in urban India, that is the unemployment rate. But still further studies came up, and it was told that in April 2021, suddenly again 75 lakh people lost their jobs. This I am talking about all those who had got job. Everybody did not get job. Those who went to their rural area walking miles and miles and miles before the trains began in month of May. We all know that scenario. That's why I'm not repeating the way migrant workers suffered. About them also, they keep telling they are only about 9 crore or 10 crore or sometimes 5 crore, they say. But if you ask me, they are those who move out of their home to go to districts, other corners of their states or the other states. If you take everybody in totality, their number is more than 24 crores. Some people are even putting it at 40 crore, but I'm giving very underestimation about 24 crore people. So they had suffered very, very heavily. But this May, the estimates were given by the CMIE, even though at the lower side, that about 15.1% in rural India and 11.2% in urban India is the unemployment situation, that rate, they were talking unemployment rate. So if you look at that scenario, the people did not get back their jobs. All workers did not move back because they were not sure. A few who came, they did not get back their jobs. So they informed their people or friends in the rural India, those who had migrated back from the cities. So many of them did not move out. And women were quite a large sufferers because their job losses were even more than, if you talk in percentage time, more than even the men. So in such a scenario, when the job losses were there, those who came back, almost 30 to 60% is the ratio, varying industry to industry, those who could join back. So vast majority is those industries or units or enterprises or small factories where the joining is only to the tune between 30 to 50%. Rest of the people did never join, and those who had joined, out of them, once again, people lost job in this second variant which came, and the second wave which came. And once again, the lockdowns, even though not all India lockdown, but stringent lockdowns, area to area, state to state, varying between days and even district to district, from that point of view, if we say. So scenario is pretty bad. This is the time the poverty and hunger is increasing. The stocks were available, 77 million tons as was claimed, 3 times than what is required, but only 2.2 million were distributed according to government estimates themselves. Government itself estimated that out of 84 crore of people, they know about 10 crore people could not get their ration cards, and there was no Aadhaar card linkages with them. They themselves, those whom they claim to be included into food security, even out of them, if 10 crore was outside, one can understand what was the situation. So situation of hunger has been developing. India is already at 102 out of 117 when you look at the hunger index. And there we are going to be showing a much more worst situation in the coming days. And when this all is going on, in that pandemic period, last year itself we had told that do not make changes in the labor laws, do not bring in ordinances of the rural workers which you are threatening, but they brought their ordinances, they converted them into laws in September parliamentary session. Similarly, we had said, don't bring labor codes now. Let us together fight back this pandemic situation and be with the people in such a situation. But the labor ministry or the prime minister office did not listen to the voice of trade unions, and ultimately the codes were forcibly introduced when whole of opposition was absent from parliament. They were on walkout because some members of Rajya Sabha were thrown away to pass the farm bills, and then later on labor codes were passed in absentia of the opposition MPs. No debate, no discussion. This is first time what happened in independent India. The way the parliament was in a way decimated, I should say. They pushed it. In this background, we find that petrol, diesel prices increased during this pandemic period more than 24 times. It is now crossed more than 100 rupees. It is going to have impact on the livelihood as well as on the hunger situation of our people, because prices are soaring high. Normal dal, which used to cost 40 rupees, 50 rupees, is now 160, 200 rupees. This is the situation from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic situation, even though still we are in the pandemic situation, not the post. We do not know when the third variant will come. But on the other hand side, we have been telling again and again that 20 lakh crores of so-called package was actually round about 4 crore package, and that too more guarantees against loans to various sectors. And that package did help the corporate sectors of our country. The wealth tax was made zero, and income tax on them from 35%, which had been brought to 30%, was further brought to 25%. But again, it was brought to 20%, and even that is not getting collected properly from them. And with the rise in the petrol, diesel, gas prices, the government had 138% increase in their revenue from that sector itself. That means 4 lakh crore they earned from it. But still, they were not bothering about that people are being brought into jobs with wage cuts. So our wages have been looted. The wages of the workers are being looted. They are being demoted. The skilled workers taking up semi-skilled jobs and semi-skilled workers going to unskilled jobs. All this is also a scenario. This is also happening simultaneously, and the workers are kept, the complaints in the trade union offices every day, and which we are forwarding to respective managements and to the labor ministry. Every day we are finding perks removed, benefits removed, welfare, whatever they were being given being removed, and then they are being told you work on this much wage, otherwise do not give. Yesterday there was a boy in our office who lost a job from Maruti company. At that time he was working at 18,000. Somehow we sent him to another company where also on the same work 18,000. Now this time they said, if you are ready to work at 10,000, we will keep you. So those who are working at 10,000, they are saying work at 4,000, 5,000, then we will keep you. So this is the situation. Job losses happened, of course. No jobs came back for many, but then who are getting jobs, they are getting less wages. So wage cuts are happening. That is the ground reality. And on the other side, as Fernandes ji was telling, the trade unionism, collective bargaining is being weakened because government is pushing through its labor codes, including the industrial code, which is very, very damaging. Of course, all the codes are damaging, but that is collective bargaining, dealing with the trade union. So very big attack on that. So on the other hand side, we also found all those families who were so happy that we are being subsidized on gas. So a subsidy which was being given 22,635 crores on gas, that subsidy came down to 3,559 crore. And many people who used to wait for that subsidy so that they can be on gas cylinder, their cooking gas, they use it, their chulha they should be able to use. They have gone back to wood and upla, cow dung se jo banate hain firing ke vaste. So in this situation, the COVID period package, the concessions given to corporates, loss to the government straight away on this income tax reduction which they did was 1.46 lakh. Means 1,46,000 crores of rupees were lost by government. From common people, the earning on petrol, diesel hike was 4 lakh crore. So you are taking away money from the poor and the middle classes, and you are giving concessions to the corporates. This is the mirror image of the government. Then we also find that what happened to our young people. Of course, I told you women lost jobs more in percentage. Our child labor is on rise. UNICEF and ILO joint report which came on 12th June, World Child Labor Day this year, they said almost about 4.9 crore, means around about 5 crore children will get increased in the child labor situation in India. This number will be added. So digital divide happened, education didn't happen, parents were in too much tremendous pressure, and now child labor would be on rise. And all those adults who are losing jobs, no livelihood at the families, naturally, their children losing education also, and now they are re-entering into the child labor market. This is the situation. What is happening to young? Pre-pandemic, the estimates were that those who are jobless, among them 35% are in the age group of 15 to 24 years. Those who are jobless. And now what is the estimate after that? Estimate now the number had reached 44%. Now the latest estimate has come that among those who are unemployed, 54% are between the age group of 15 and 25 years of age. So our youth is being wasted, frustrated, into depression. Those youngsters who are being told work on less wages, and here are the youngsters who have no work even on less wages. So that is the scenario. Then work from home is another difficult area with the trade unions are grappling. They are not being covered under any labor laws because they will be losing on many counts. I don't have time to detail on that. If there will be some separate seminar to discuss about what is happening about this work from home, or what is happening to these e-commerce and gig workers. They are nowhere in these codes. There some mention comes somewhere, but that in the rules they are removed. All those details are available, and Shyam Sundarji also has been writing on it. Maybe when he speaks today as discussant, he'll be able to say something on that. As I told you, hunger is going to rise, because this will be also the way forward when we look at how India should respond, the government should respond to this whole issue, and how the society has to respond. If we look into that, I have to tell, when the workers were stranded during first lockdown, 50% of them had said that we are left with the food for one day. So we have to walk. There is no way out. No lorries, no buses, no trains, but we will walk. We go to work. We don't want to die hungry. We want to die with our families. That was the situation. And in those surveys, we found 96% of them said we didn't get any kind of a ration so that we could cook. 96% of those stranded workers all over India. 76% of them said that when the cooked ration was being distributed, the food was being distributed, 76% said we did not get even cooked food. So where to go? We have to walk. We don't want to die hungry. 78% of them were saying, out of those stranded workers, we are left with 300 rupees or less than 300 rupees. With this money in hand, we have to walk. Nothing else. So this was the scenario. In such a scenario, I would say that inequalities have risen very, very heavily. I just want to pinpoint on that. And that is, when we are saying our worker lost jobs, government failed in implementing their own advisory and orders that lockdown wages will be given, were not given. Retrenchment will not happen, but it happened. And Home Ministry went to the Supreme Court when the case came over there and withdrew their orders. So Labour Ministry did not function or act on their advisory, and Home Ministry withdrew it. That was the approach of the government. As far as workers were concerned, the poor people were concerned. Even on migrant workers, Supreme Court did not intervene. It was very late entry, and now only Supreme Court has said that you have to pay to the workers who suffered and who died. And especially on COVID, they are saying those who died because of COVID. So from that point of view, I would say that the government's approach was ruthless, reckless, cruel, and I should say criminal towards the poor masses of our country, rural or urban, workers or agriculture workers, informal or formal economy workers. It was a criminal approach, and criminal neglect happened in dealing with their hunger, and criminal neglect happened in dealing with health sector, and their criminal neglect caused such heavy second wave, and their criminal neglect has caused so many deaths in the second wave. I pay my homage to all those people who died during this period, those who were in agitations, those who were raising their voices, those who died because of COVID, and I pay my homage to all of them, including the latest victim of government's apathy and criminal neglect, as well as trying to throttle the voices of opposition. I mean Father Stan Swami. I pay my homage at this. Those who speak for these downtrodden, even their voices are supposed to be shut down. This is the situation we are facing in this COVID situation. It's not only the labor suffering because of unemployment situation. It's not only that tribals losing so much. Our poor rural mass is losing so much. The loss is also not only these labor laws being changed and courts coming, and attack on the trade unions, attack on the farmers, attack on their land, corporatizing everything, including our defense and including the land and our foods, and now privatizing, disinvesting, public sector being put on sale. The public sector which was there in the field to help the people, to help the COVID victims, public sector was there. First of all, Steel Authority people sent the oxygen gas when it was becoming shortage and the people were dying because they were not able to breathe. In such a situation, criminal neglect from the governments continued. And there I want to say, their friends were not neglected. Their friends were favored in all ways. And in 12 months' time, beginning from March, how much more money was added into the kitty of corporates? How much more money? I want to tell you, 38 billionaires increased their wealth by 4 times. Our people were not having money in the hands. Our demand of 7,500 to each non-income tax paying family to be given was neglected, ignored. It didn't happen. But 38 billionaires increased their wealth by 4 times. Adani increased by 460% his money. Ambani increased by 128% his money. I'm talking during pandemic period. We are talking about pandemic period. And in this pandemic period, 140 billionaires. Now it is not only 100. It's now 38 more billionaires were added during pandemic period. You imagine more than 130 crore people were in suffrage, I should say, and billionaires were getting added. And if I say these 140 billionaires in our country, how much percentage of population they are? Let me reveal it to you. They are 0.000014%. This much percentage of population of this country is in control of almost 24.5% GDP of this country. Can you imagine that? This is the situation of inequality in our country. And when people were not getting health facilities, everywhere suffering, no ventilators, no beds, no oxygen, not even simple medicines, etc. Out of these 140 billionaires, I want to inform you, 24 billionaires are in health sector. Out of those 24 in health sector, 10 health corporates were minting money, 500 crore rupees per day. People were not getting medicines, oxygen, ventilators, simple medicines. And 10 health corporates, big corporates, were earning 500 crore rupees per day. This is the kind of inequality. And the workers were suffering. And they continue to suffer. And I also want to say, 75% of our rural households, if you talk of situation of employment and livelihood, they are earning less than 5,000 rupees per month. If I say 95% rural households, they can be told as 10,000 or less. And if you look at Manrega, they say work hard, you will also earn like Adani and Ambani. Work hard. Let me tell you another figure. Manrega, if you give them work for 365 days at the rate of 201 rupees, as many those who registered in Manrega, it will take them 420 lakh years to come to near to the property of Mukesh Ambani. This is the kind of inequality. So that's why, my friends, I want to say, if Mukesh Ambani's assets and money today is equal to GDP of state of Punjab, one state of Punjab of India, which feeds to large extent. Other states are also producing. They feed to India. Now, it is in this background we are gathering today when our trade union rights are under attack. There, I must tell you, if I am to say a little now and later on, if I am told to supplement, then I will be able to supplement at that stage also. That is, I want to say that if we have to look into what should be done, actually, I think major investment has to come for employment generation and a livelihood generation. Government has to remove the blanket ban on recruitments. The sanctioned posts should not be dropped, which government is dropping. The sanctioned posts which are lying vacant needs to be filled up. MSMEs are in very bad shape. Without reviving MSMEs, we will we will not have a scenario of employment in the country coming up to the requirements. Even then, we may not reach the requirement, but to some extent, we will start addressing the issue. So MSME has to be looked into. And for this thing, they should stop public sector enterprises to be privatized. They should stop their sale. They should stop, you see, this whole, they are saying that they are removing this Migrant Act. They should rather strengthen the Migrant Labor Act, include the international migration into it, and look at their woes. We are ready to sit with the government to strengthen it, and naturally other partners in the society should also chip into it. Similarly, the packages to hawkers and vendors were too poor. Government has to work on that. Database is not available for migrant workers. The government has to work on that. There has to be some policy to the new kind of workers, the gig workers and e-commerce workers. The government will have to look into it. Even the government will have to once again look into it, this new scenario which has come for work from home. Quite a percentage of workers. How to look at their situations. And jobs, those who got jobs need to be protected. The wages, minimum wages need to be fixed up, upgraded instead of cutting their wages. For all workers, I'm talking when I'm talking of wages. And social security has to be universal, not for the namesake, because present code doesn't include all workers. It is not actually universal. Government is only making a false claim. That issue will have to be addressed. They have to give up this so-called red card, green card, yellow card. They should straight away make universal PDS system. If they want to address hunger, it is very, very necessary to it. The young workers need to be retrained. When some kinds of jobs are totally vanishing, they need to have new avenues. So that area needs to be addressed by us. I must say that one of the economists had said, I would like to stop after that. One of the economists, Abba Lerner, he had said that it is government responsibility to provide full employment, because full employment only will benefit the society. Just labor saving technology will not save the society. You have to see to it that the full employment is there. Also, government's responsibility is price stability. Now the prices are soaring high. So whatever wage you get, with every price rise, actually wage is getting depressed automatically. So that scenario is there. So decent standard of living need to be established. It's the responsibility of government. They cannot say ki tum apne aap kar lo. It's the responsibility of government. That is what Abba Lerner said. And when there is unemployment, what happens? There is no jobs and there is no money in the hand. Then you can never revive economy. If there is no demand side addressed, how you will revive economy? So in this situation of pandemic, in this whole issue of employment and livelihood situation, from trade union point of view, I say that employment needs to be addressed. Unemployment needs to be addressed. Employment generation has to happen. Unemployment has to be controlled. And there it is the role of the government. And that is why people say resources, goods, they will not be there. No. Resources and goods are there. But if the unemployment is there, who is going to use the resource and who is going to use goods? So the best bet is that unemployment needs to be addressed so that jobs could be created, livelihood situation is brought, money is put into the hands of the people, some kind of their hunger is addressed, and that's why universal food system is required. With all these things in move, and many more can be said, but I would like to stop. I have overshot my time. I would once again say the trade unions will not lie it down. Trade unions are with the farmers movement. Farmer movements are building bridges with the trade union movement, and trade unions and the farmer movements are trying to build bridges with other fighting sections of the society. That is the only way out to challenge this government. And without challenging this government's paradigm, their economic policies and their path of so-called development, which they keep claiming, without challenging that and having an alternative way, and in some cases looking at our pre-pandemic situation, rather pre-2014 situation, and in certain situations we have to go beyond 2021. We have to address both the things, and for that, from trade unionist point of view, I think the attack on labor rights is the government tactics to confront the biggest resistance to its policies. So the biggest resistance comes from trade unions, and that is why trade unions are supposed to be curtailed by them. And we want to say we will not lie down. You try to push us 150 years back when the Britishers were ruling. We want to tell you we will throw you back into 150 years situation. We are not going to go backward direction. We will resist, and we will see to it that the government's intentions are defeated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amarjeet Kaur ji, for your presentation, which has covered a lot of ground, presenting the current situation, the various ways in which the workers are suffering, and various options for the government to try to address these issues. But at the same time, you said that we need to challenge the present development paradigm, which is marginalizing workers and creating more and more unemployment and loss of livelihood. Okay, so we shall move on to the discussants, and the first discussant I would call upon is Professor K.R. Sundar, who is the professor of HRM at XLRI, Xavier School of Management, Jamshedpur. He is one of the best economists as far as labor is concerned, and we would like to listen to you, Professor Shyam Sundar, your first response to what Amarjeet Kaur ji has said.
Yeah, thank you for that. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, I thank IMPRI for giving me this opportunity to participate in this extremely lively and even contemporarily very relevant, I would say not even relevant, extremely of urgent importance, which is employment generation, which is also, is very directly associated with poverty alleviation and diminution of inequality. Now, before I must say that Comrade Amarjeet Kaur has presented, for a trade unionist, unusually, absolutely reigning with statistics and backing each and every statement of hers with statistics drawn from various sources, and also probably from the trade union, their own surveys, and also quoting some economists. And she brought out the multiple impoverishments. I'm coining a new term as labor market impoverishments. The labor market the COVID crisis has intensified and broadened the various dimensions of labor market impoverishment. What do I mean by labor market impoverishment in its broad scope is that it has a multiple thing. For example, it had a classic technical unemployment as we define in economics, but it also brought out another dimension of unemployment, that is returnee unemployment. I mean, there is a technical unemployment who has been always unemployed, and returnee unemployment is one who was in a job, one sort of the job or the other, and became returnee unemployed. I mean, on return, he or she does not get the same job or does not get any job. And thirdly is, third dimension is the forced idleness of even the so-called highly organized, protected, regulated workers operating in multinational enterprises and others. So this would be in terms of that would come under unemployment. And then secondly, underemployment. People wanted some avenue for job, income, so they would take up any job. A teacher or a carpenter or a skilled worker would take up, for example, an MG Narega job or any job that came in his or her way. And what the ILO calls as, it has pushed millions of workers in outside the labor market. We labor economists call them as discouraged workers, but ILO calls them as inactive workers. I mean, they are both discouraged and inactive. This is another, and in 2020, according to ILO, 81 million workers were pushed outside the labor force and remained inactive. And the other parts of impoverishment, which is criminal, is the rise in child labor because of this online education system, which created digital inequalities. So child labor rose, as she rightly pointed out, and precarious employment became very severe. And what is most important is that what Professor Papola, Professor Sundaram, and various others had pointed out in the 2000s, the working poor, which was first pointed out by Professor Hashim in the 1990s. He said that the proportion of poverty, people below the poverty line, is more among the employed than among the unemployed. And that's how, after Professor Hashim's use of NSSO data, we had this working poor. So working poor had increased tremendously. And London School of Economics study also points out that in its longitudinal study, very short-term longitudinal study, that is recontracted individuals, 8% in January to March remained unemployed, 8% had 0 hours of work, thereby remained idle, and 24% of them did not have any source of income, any source of financial assistance. So according to that study, 40% remained without work or without any kind of financial income or assistance. So this I call as labor market impoverishment. And beyond the labor market, in the larger economy, there was, as she said, poverty, hunger, intensification, and most importantly, exacerbation of inequalities in all aspects, including the vaccine access. So, in other words, the COVID crisis had exposed the vulnerabilities of the already, my point is this, pre-COVID itself, we had a precarious labor market, a very flexible labor market, where the unemployment already had started rising according to CMI data. And poverty levels, of course, dipped, and we had, of course, the child labor coming down, we celebrated. But COVID showed the vulnerable side, the darker side, where the things, the economy is not prepared to face a crisis of this sort. Of course, the crisis is very, very severe. But I'm not going to get into a lot of statistics which Comrade Amarjeet Kaur has said that, but I would draw attention to a very important point made by Professor Papola. He said that employment generation has not been mainstreamed in the economic development, economic growth and economic development discourses and policies. He had given an elaborate paper in 2005, in 2008, which was done for ILO, where he analyzed all the plan documents, and he said that the mainstream economic thinking was that employment is a residual of it will be generated by growth, but we had jobless growth and job loss growth and etc. So it was already a grim picture which became grimmer, and that brings me to a point which is my central argument, is that there are two points. Point number one is that the role of the state needs to be interrogated. Was found to, it was liable to be interrogated much more severely because of the governance and policy and labor law failures. Governance failures is that all the unorganized workers and others became, they were not visible, though they were covered by labor laws. The government did not have, even today, the Supreme Court, in fact, in the July month judgment said that the government government ought to complete by 31st July the registration of all the migrant workers. And maybe a couple of days ago, we read that the government is, the Labor Ministry is running from pillar to post to sort of meet with the deadline, which it is going to fail because of the kind of data that Comrade Amarjeet Kaur said, running into crores. Maybe it is 20 crores or 30 crores, 40 crores, we do not know. So this is the statistical vacuum, and this is plaguing the policy making ability of the government. We do not have solid labor statistics, employment statistics. And my point is that it's a gauntlet thrown to the government. If CMI, a private agency, could expend resources to generate high frequency employment, unemployment data, why can't the government do that? Why all kinds of various surveys that Labor Bureau is trying to do? So I call in critically the role of the role of the state in the labor market. The second important thing is pushing the labor codes, which did not serve any purpose because they are still unimplemented. And most importantly for me, the philosophy of the government that employment generation through flexible labor laws, thereby diluting labor rights, is the only solution for employment generation. I repeat this. This is a dogma. This is a neoclassical dogma that employment generation could be made only at the expense of labor rights. This is the mainstream neoclassical labor flexibility driven perspective that has been driving the entire code making, entire labor law making, entire policy making, and this runs against the SDG goal 8.4. It clearly says that employment generation and labor rights should coexist. But if you analyze the labor codes, we find that the hard-won historical rights have been diluted, and to provide flexibility to the employers to generate employment. This is a paradigm which the trade unions need to really contest. That is, employment generation could be only at the expense of labor rights, which runs against the SDGs. I will just end my thing with 3 ILO observations for the Denzil, if you give me 2 more minutes. I would like to tell the audience that India has ratified ILO's Employment Policy Convention 1964 C122. We ratified it in 1998, and this policy requires all the ratifying countries to have in place an employment policy, which is not there. And why the trade unions are not taking up this particular aspect, I am bewildered. Because without employment policy, and employment policy must be connected with social and economic and labor policy in a comprehensive manner. That employment policy convention clearly spells out. And secondly, we have the SDG. And the SDG clearly says that goal 8, decent work and economic growth. And there are 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, there are a number of ones. And 8.8 is very important. While designing policies to promote decent work and economic growth, protect labor rights, and promote safe working environment. And that is where ITUC has this year called out that it is going to make occupational safety and health as a fundamental right. And probably it will be included in the basket of fundamental rights which define the core labor standards of ILO. And I wish trade unions would also take OSH seriously. And even during this COVID period, we witnessed a number of industrial accidents. Occupational safety and health is an existential right of workers, and they should be brought in. And finally, I would end with Professor Popola's argument. Unless we have an employment policy which takes care of sustainable development and provide for sustainable livelihoods, which became very relevant during the COVID-19, and also establish a nexus between employment generation and poverty alleviation, and mainstream employment generation in the economic growth models. And that is a solution. And that is what should be the higher level policy debate that the trade union should engage. And ILO has clearly laid out the COVID crisis policy, and Plank 4 of it says that the government should rely on social dialogue for designing policies to tackle COVID crises. And I need hardly add that social dialogue was conspicuous in its absence. So with this, I stop. Maybe if there's an opportunity again, I'll come. But I drive home the 2 points. Number one, COVID crisis exposed the labor market impoverishments and vulnerabilities. Number two, COVID crisis shown the poverty of governance and policy adequacies. And thirdly, the paradigm that employment generation could be had only at the cost of labor rights is a false discourse and a false economic theory to rely upon for designing. These must be the battlegrounds for the trade unions. Trade unions must now shift to the higher level policies, and thereby we should have a promote sustainable society and sustainable livelihood by 2030, the SDGs. So SDG provides the framework. There is a framework already. It is only the question of filling in the gaps. Thanks a lot, and I stop here.
Thank you very much, Professor Shyam Sundar, for your points. Since we are running short of time, I call upon Dr. Sharad Kumari, State Program Manager, ActionAid Association, Bihar and Jharkhand, to respond. शरद कुमारी।
सभी साथियों को जिंदाबाद। मेरी आवाज जा रही है?
यस, लेकिन माइक को थोड़ा पास रख लेंगे तो थोड़ा और अच्छे से आएगा। हाँ।
सभी साथियों को जिंदाबाद। और बहुत ही मैं आभार प्रकट करती हूँ कि इम्प्री ने ये मौका दिया कि मैं अपनी बात रख सकूं, खासकर तब जब कॉमरेड अमरजीत कौर जैसी हमारी अनुभवी साथी ने लगभग सभी चीज़ों को बहुत ही बेहतरीन ढंग से हमारे बीच रखा है, जो पूरी स्थिति है। मैं सिर्फ इसमें जो ग्राउंड लेवल की ज़मीनी स्तर की कुछ बातें हैं उसको जोड़ना चाहूँगी, जो हमारा अपना अनुभव रहा है कि ये जो पूरा महामारी का दौर रहा है, सच में इसने बहुत ही नंगे तरीके से अगर हम कहें तो इसने जो वंचित समुदाय की स्थिति को हम सब के सामने ला के खड़ा कर दिया है कि जिन लोगों को अभी तक शायद नहीं दिखता था, उन्हें भी दिखने लगा कि किस तरीके से मजदूर वर्ग अपनी जिंदगी जीता है। और मजदूर वर्ग है कौन, ये भी एक जो बहुत थीन रेखा थी वो भी टूटी है इस महामारी में कि जैसा कि हम बात कर रहे थे कि जो लोग थोड़ा कमा रहे थे उनकी कमाई साफ बंद हो गई, जीविकोपार्जन के रास्ते ही बंद कर दिए इस महामारी ने, और जो थोड़ा ढंग का कमा रहे थे उनके हाथ में अब कुछ पैसे आ रहे हैं। जो इस चीज को बहुत अच्छे ढंग से कॉमरेड ने रखा है हम लोगों के बीच में। सच्चाई यह है कि जो खासकर प्रवासी मजदूरों का मामला पहले चरण में ही निकल के आया, और उनके जो पंजीकरण की बात है, रजिस्ट्रेशन की बात है, कि अभी तक हमारे राज्य सरकारों को मालूम नहीं है कि हमारे राज्य के कितने मजदूर राज्य से बाहर जाते हैं और कहाँ जाते हैं। क्योंकि इसका जो पूरा प्रोसेस है, जो हम लोगों के जो ट्रेड यूनियन के द्वारा भी लगातार इन चीजों को उठाया जाता रहा, लेकिन आज तक ये यक्ष प्रश्न की तरह है कि जो असंगठित क्षेत्र के मजदूर प्रवासी मजदूर के रूप में काम करने जाते हैं, आज तक उनका रजिस्ट्रेशन सुनिश्चित नहीं हुआ है। और यही कारण है, जब पहले चरण में लोग लौट के आ रहे थे तो राज्यों के अंदर अराजकता की स्थिति आ गई। पूरे देश में यह एक भयावह दृश्य उत्पन्न हुआ हम लोगों के सामने कि ये मजदूर किस प्रकार से अपने घरों की ओर लौट रहे थे, इनके लौटने की कोई व्यवस्था नहीं थी, और लौटने के बाद ये कहाँ रहेंगे, कैसे जिएंगे, इनके बारे में सचमुच में अभी तक भी नहीं सोचा गया। जबकि अब दूसरी लहर को भी हमने लगभग पार करने की हम स्थिति में आ चुके हैं। सच्चाई यह है कि लोग अब भूख से मौत की बात जब एक समय होती थी तो सरकारों ने कहा कि नहीं, अब ये शब्द मत बोलिए। सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता इन चीजों को जबरदस्ती उभारते हैं, लेकिन एक बार फिर से भूख के मौत के कगार पर एक बड़ा हिस्सा जा चुका है। मैं आपको एक उदाहरण दूं कि महिलाओं की बात को इसमें विशेष रूप से जोड़ूंगी कि जो महिला कामगार हैं उनकी स्थिति और भी दयनीय हो गई कि जब काम छूटे हैं और जो लोग काम पर वापस गए हैं उसमें महिलाएं बहुत कम वापस आ सकी हैं अपने काम पर, और अपने परिवार में जो खासकर सिंगल विमेन का परिवार है या विमेन हेडेड परिवार है, उन परिवारों में जीविकोपार्जन की स्थिति दयनीय हो गई। हमारे पास एक केस स्टडी है कि हमारी एक महिला वो देह व्यापार पर मजबूर हो गई अपने बच्चों को भोजन देने के लिए। ये स्थिति इस महामारी ने हमें दिखाया। और बाल मजदूरी और मैरिज ट्रैफिकिंग, इसका तो मतलब मैं बिहार के संदर्भ में अगर बात को रखूं तो कोई और अंत नहीं है कि लगातार इस महामारी के दौर में ये चीजें हुई हैं कि लोग मैरिज ट्रैफिकिंग इन सेंस की कॉमरेड बहुत अच्छे से समझ रही है, हमने उनसे इन चीजों को सीखा है कि पैसे दे के बेटियों को ले जा रहे हैं लोग, और वो पैसे लोग इस मजबूरी में ले रहे हैं कि घर चलाना है, जो घर के बाकी लोग हैं उनके जीने का वो साधन बन सके। तो इस स्तर की मजबूरियां आ चुकी हैं, और ऐसी स्थिति में हमें क्या करना चाहिए? अभी तक सरकारों की तरफ से कोई विशेष पहलकदमी नहीं दिखाई पड़ रही है। इस पूरे महामारी के दौर में अगर हम महिलाओं के संदर्भ में देखें तो जो घरेलू कामगार महिलाएं हैं उनका प्रश्न बहुत ही मुखर होकर हमारे सामने आया है कि किस तरीके से लोगों ने जो इस बीमारी को छुआछूत के रूप में जब देखा जाने लगा, जो घरेलू कामगार महिलाएं थी उनका काम एकदम से रुक गया। और उन महिलाओं के घरों की स्थिति, किसी साथी ने प्रश्न में पूछा कि अर्बन पुअर का मामला, तो जो स्लम में रहने वाले लोग हैं उसमें बड़ी संख्या में महिलाएं घरेलू कामगार के रूप में काम करती हैं, और उन घरों में जीविकोपार्जन का रास्ता बंद हो गया। बहुत सारी महिलाएं जो छोटे छोटे काम करती थी, दुकानों पर जाके काम करती थी, उन महिलाओं के काम उन्हें आज तक वापस नहीं मिले हैं। और ये स्थिति है कि अभी भी अब लोग ब्लैकमेलिंग के शिकार हो रहे हैं कि अगर कोई काम पर जाता है, जैसा कि मैं कह रही थी कि जिन्हें अगर 18,000 मिल रहा था तो कहते हैं 10,000 मिलेगा, 10,000 मिल रहा था तो कहते हैं 5,000 पर काम कर लो। तो ये स्थिति नीचे के हिस्से में भी आ गया है कि जो 5,000 पर काम कर रहे थे उन्हें 2,000 पर काम करने को कहा जा रहा है। आप दिन भर दुकान में बैठो 2,000 रुपए मिलेंगे आपको। ये जो पूरी स्थिति आ गई है, इन चीजों से निपटने के बारे में नहीं सोचा जा रहा है। लोगों को अपना काम बदलना पड़ रहा है। जो स्किल्ड लोग थे वो लोग जो अनस्किल्ड वर्क है उसमें जा रहे हैं। या बहुत सारे लोग, मैं आपको उदाहरण दूं कि गया और कोडरमा जो झारखंड से सटा हुआ इलाका है, डेली वेजेस के लिए लोग जो माइका खदानों में काम करने जाते थे मजदूर के रूप में, वो अचानक से जब पूरा लॉकडाउन लगा और पूरी जो आवागमन की व्यवस्था बाधित हुई तो उनका जाना बंद हो गया, और पूरा का पूरा उस इलाके के लोगों के घर में भूखमरी की स्थिति आ गई। हमारे चूंकि एक्शन एड ने अपनी एक छोटी सी कोशिश की है, वर्कर फैसिलिटेशन सेंटर हमने पिछले लगभग 2017 से इसकी हमने एक शुरुआत की थी, और लगातार जो बाहर जाने वाले प्रवासी मजदूर थे उनके बीच हमने एक जागरूकता अभियान किया था। उन तक एक हमने नंबर फ्लैश किया था कि आपको कहीं भी कोई दिक्कत आती है एक मजदूर के रूप में तो आप अपनी बातों को रखें, हम आपकी मदद करेंगे जहां तक संभव हो। और उस दौर में जब हमें पता लगा कि लोगों के काम बिल्कुल बंद हो गए हैं, पूरा का पूरा गांव भूखमरी के कगार में, क्योंकि उस गांव के सभी लोग मायका खदान में जाते थे। तो फिर हम लोगों ने वहाँ के जो PRIs मेंबर थे उनसे बात करके मनरेगा की लड़ाई लड़ी, और तब फिर वहाँ की महिलाओं ने पहली बार, जिन्होंने कभी काम नहीं किया था, वो मनरेगा के काम में जुड़ी। और उसके बाद अगर हम बात करें तो ऐसे केसेस सामने आए कि ईंट भट्टे पर काम करने वाले मजदूरों को या छोटी छोटी जो फैक्ट्रियां होती हैं उनमें काम करने वाले लोगों को बंधुआ मजदूर बना लिया गया। और जो हमने एक कार्ड बांटा था जिस पर नंबर फ्लैश किया था मजदूरों के बीच में, तो उस नंबर के द्वारा लोगों ने हमसे संपर्क किया कि हम यहाँ फंसे हुए हैं, हमारे साथ मार पिटाई हो रही है, हमारी मजदूरी भी नहीं दी जा रही है, और फिर प्रशासन की मदद से उन लोगों को छुड़ाया जा सका। ये एक दो घटनाएं मैं इसलिए जिक्र कर रही हूँ कि स्थिति कितनी भयावह रूप में हमारे सामने आई और हमारी लड़ाई कितनी बड़ी है। और खासकर जब हम अपने इस पूरी लड़ाई को ले जाते हैं, अभी जो पूरा लेबर कोड आ रहा है, निश्चित रूप से वो पूरी लड़ाई उसकी लड़ी जा रही है, लेकिन इस लड़ाई को हमको और बहुत ज्यादा मजबूत करने की जरूरत है। और इस लड़ाई के बीच में हमें असंगठित क्षेत्र के मजदूरों की लड़ाई, जो पूरे जो घरेलू कामगार महिलाओं की जो पूरी लड़ाई है, या छोटे स्तर पर काम करने वाली जो महिला वर्कर्स हैं उनकी जो पूरी लड़ाई है, इनको हम कैसे शामिल करें, यह एक बहुत बड़ा प्रश्न है। और इस पर हम सब लोगों को जरूर बातचीत करनी चाहिए कि राज्य के स्तर पर, केंद्र के स्तर पर कैसे इनको लेके पॉलिसी जो है, आधी आधी पॉलिसी आती है लेकिन वो फिर बीच में रुक जाती है। तो अभी तक सामाजिक सुरक्षा का जो मामला है वह भी पूरी तरह से नहीं बन पाया है असंगठित क्षेत्र के मजदूरों के लिए या घरेलू कामगार महिलाओं के लिए। उस तरह का अगर घरेलू कामगार में देखें तो महिलाओं की संख्या ज्यादा है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है कि उसमें पुरुष नहीं है। तो उन घरेलू कामगारों के लिए भी कुछ एक सुनिश्चित ये होना चाहिए, उसको किस प्रकार से हम लोग लेके आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। साथियों, चूंकि समय कम है, मैं दो तीन और बहुत सारी चीजें चूंकि कॉमरेड ने कही है, हमारे और भी साथियों ने, प्रोफेसर श्याम जी ने भी कही है, मैं जोड़ना चाहती हूँ कि अगर इन चीजों से हम अस्थायित्व चाहते हैं, एक अस्थायी बदलाव चाहते हैं, तो हमें सरकारों से इस स्तर पर भी बात करनी चाहिए जो जीविकोपार्जन के साधन है, क्या उनका तरीका ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि जो हमारे राज्यों में उपलब्ध संसाधन है उन संसाधनों के आधार पर हम नए रोजगार की तलाश करें। जैसे अगर हम बिहार के संदर्भ में बात करें, बिहार की सरकार के लिए एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन मौका था कि जिस प्रकार से उन्हें पता चला कि उनके इतने लोग प्रवासी मजदूर के रूप में काम करते हैं। आज अगर बिहार सरकार कृषि आधारित उद्योग, जो कि बिहार की एक धरोहर थे, यहाँ का जो चीनी मिल था, यहाँ का पेपर मिल था, यहाँ का जूट मिल था, यहाँ के पूरे खादी ग्राम उद्योग थे, इन चीजों को अभी भी अगर रिवाइव किया जाए, ये चीजें थी बिहार में, और इन चीजों के बंद होने के कारण लाखों लोग आज दूसरे राज्यों में जाके, वो पंजाब में जाके धान रोप रहे हैं। और जबकि अगर यहाँ इन सारी चीजों को फिर से रिवाइव किया जाए तो आपके मजदूर प्रवासी मजदूर में नहीं बदलेंगे, या फिर जाएंगे तो उनके जाने का एक तरीका होगा, वो सुरक्षित तरीके से जा सके, उनका रजिस्ट्रेशन हो सके। तो इन चीजों की लड़ाई को हम कैसे आगे ले जा सकते हैं, ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है मुझे लगता है, और इसके लिए हम सब लोगों को एकजुट होकर आने की जरूरत है। ट्रेड यूनियन लीडर्स ने हमेशा रास्ता दिखाया है। मैं समझती हूँ कि इस तरह के जो ग्रासरूट के मुद्दे हैं, जो महिलाओं से, जो होम बेस्ड वर्कर हैं महिलाएं, उनके मुद्दे हैं, हमें पता नहीं है, बहुत सारी महिलाएं श्रमिक महिलाओं के रूप में काम, लेकिन हमने तो महिलाओं को श्रमिक की गिनती में अभी तक नहीं रखा है पूरी तरीके से। ये एक बहुत बड़ा सवाल है। महिलाएं खेती कर रही हैं, लेकिन हमने अभी तक उनको किसान का दर्जा नहीं दिया है। तो स्वामीनाथन कमेटी बनी, उसने सारे रिकमेंडेशंस दिए, लेकिन सारे कागज पर रखे हुए हैं। क्या हम इसकी लड़ाई नहीं लड़ सकते हैं कि किस प्रकार किसानों की बात हो? इतनी बड़ी लड़ाई हमारे किसान लड़ रहे हैं, सिर्फ बॉर्डर पर नहीं, लेकिन पूरे देश में हम अगर किसानों की हालत देखें, जो खासकर सीमांत किसान है, जो महिला किसान है, उन्हें तो अभी पहचान तक हम देने को तैयार नहीं है। तो उनके संघर्ष को हम कैसे आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं? और जो महिलाओं को श्रमिक के रूप में, होम बेस्ड महिलाएं हैं, आप सर्वे में जाइएगा, आपको पता नहीं चलेगा कि महिलाएं काम कर रही हैं। आप देखते हैं कि गोलगप्पा का ठेला लगा है, आप पूछेंगे आप क्या काम करते हैं, तो जो मेल मेंबर खड़ा है वो कहेगा ये काम मैं करती हूँ। लेकिन सुबह से जब वो ठेला लेके आता है सड़क पर, उसकी पूरी तैयारी उसके घर में बैठी वो महिला करती है। या जो बीड़ी वर्कर्स हैं, वो घर में बैठ के बनाती हैं, वो अपने को श्रमिक के रूप में कहीं भी दर्ज नहीं करती हैं। इस तरीके के बहुत सारे काम हैं जो घर में बैठ के, छोटी छोटी पैकिंग का काम है, बहुत सारे फैक्ट्री में बटन लगाने का या अन्य इस तरह का काम है जो होम बेस्ड वर्कर के रूप में महिलाएं हमारी हैं, लेकिन उन महिलाओं को अभी तक श्रमिक के रूप में पहचान नहीं मिल पाई है। तो मैं ये कहूंगी कि इस पूरे महामारी ने सारा कुछ हमारी आंखों के आगे खोल के रखा है कि जो वंचित समुदाय था और भी वंचित हो गया, जो श्रमिक वर्ग था उसका संघर्ष और कठिन हो गया है। तो हम सब लोग कैसे इन चीजों को लेके आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, इस संघर्ष को, और कैसे दशा दिशा दी जा सकती है, इस पर हम लोगों को बहुत ही गंभीरता से बातचीत करके सरकार के सामने बातों को रखनी चाहिए और संघर्ष को तेज करना चाहिए। मुझे लगता है जो समय की बात है, मैं एक छोटी सी चीज जोड़ना चाहूंगी कि अभी एक्शन एड की तरफ से और बिहार में जो हमारे ट्रेड यूनियन के लीडर हैं उन सब लोगों की मदद से एक छोटे छोटे मॉडल रखने की हम लोगों ने कोशिश की है। वर्कर फैसिलिटेशन सेंटर बनाया है। अभी हम लोग 8 राज्यों तक क्षमा करेंगे 8 जिलों तक हम पहुंच पाए हैं। हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि जो हमारे मजदूर बाहर जा रहे हैं उनको हम कैसे मदद करें कि वो अपना अधिकार ले सकें, उनको उसकी जानकारी दे सकें, उनके रजिस्ट्रेशन में उनके मदद कर सकें, जो चाइल्ड लेबर हैं उनको हम रोक सकें, उसकी हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं। महिलाओं के साथ हम सामूहिक खेती का एक उदाहरण पेश करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं सरकार के सामने। नालंदा जिला में चूंकि वो सब्जी की खेती के लिए जाना जाता है, तो सामूहिक रूप से महिलाएं खेती करके उन्होंने दिखाया है कि महिलाएं जब इस तरह के काम में आती हैं उनको सपोर्ट मिलता है, उनको पहचान मिलती है। इस महामारी के दौर में भी उन्होंने अपने परिवार को कैसे बचाए रखा है। तो मुझे लगता है इन सब चीजों को लेके हम सबको आगे जाना चाहिए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, शुक्रिया।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद शरद कुमारी जी। आपने बहुत अहम मुद्दे यहाँ सामने रखा है, विशेष करके महिलाओं पर कैसा असर हुआ, विशेष और घरेलू कामगार वगैरह। तो हम इन बातों पर ध्यान रखेंगे। और आई इनवाइट नाउ डॉक्टर सोनिया जॉर्ज, Secretary of Self-Employed Women's Association, SEWA, Kerala, to give her response. It's almost, yeah, please.
Thank you, Father Denzil, for inviting me. And also I take this opportunity to thank the organizers, and also it's such a privilege to be with an amazing panel. And Amarjeet ji, you were so vast, and you could raise so many issues, and also Professor Shyam Sundar and Sharad Kumari ji also raised so many issues. So I don't want to repeat those issues, but few things that I would like to point out in this context, especially. Maybe as I think the situations have been discussed again and again, and we know that these are things happening around. I think as Shyam Sundar ji has started mentioning, how do we think about overcoming this situation? Is there any solution in this complex situation of this country? Is there any common issues, or how could we problematize in such a way that the workers in this country are made visibilized? As all of the speakers have said, we live, or majority of the workers in this country are informal workers. It's the informality being calculated from 90 to 93 to 95%. That is the range of informality that we talk about, because more and more informality within the formal sector is even happening. So I think one of the main issues that I would like to point out is, there is the country lacks a system of measuring the informality very broadly, or when you go to micro levels, there is no such system of measuring informality. So that means it is not reflected in the governance system. It is not reflected through policies or laws, or that is why from the labor codes, the informal sector still feels that we are left out of the labor codes. So because even the policymakers, the labor law specialists, or people sitting at higher levels have no such idea on the formation of the informality in the sector. I still remember that when the recommendation 204 of ILO was discussed, this was one of the situations that is towards formalization. And the government from India, the representatives and all others, have nodded their heads and said, okay, we are going to do this very fast. As Shyam Sundarji has said very clearly, the vastness of the informal workers, the migrant workers, and the government is saying that by December we are going to now measure them or track them or whatever it is. That is the way the government responds. So I think my first point is, without problematizing the real situation of the informal workers and going beyond the grand narrative of formal workers, that is something the country needs. Because we talk about a fixed workplace. We talk about means everything, all the laws are associated with a fixed workplace. All the laws are associated with a fixed employer. All the labor laws are discussed within stipulated work time, that is 8 hours, or in that framework. All the rights are talked in that framework, and that is not applicable to majority of the informal sector workers. All these years we are talking about formalized means, but we are seeing more informalization. So let us now discuss on how do we think or how do we deconstruct this entire process of informalization in this country? Is it through this dominant formalization that is very much familiar in the labor discourse, or do we have to generate or formulate an alternate labor economics and labor narrations for the majority of the workers and the most marginal sector of workers in the country? Many examples, even Amarjeet with data has explained the present situation. That is no exaggeration. It's even much beyond that what she has explained. To think about the labor market in a very, very detailed sense of attention. That is something that because for example, sectoral issues. We don't have even stable sectors. Home-based workers, we stay generally, but in SEWA itself, where I represent, within home-based workers, we have more than 70 or 80 trades. We are talking about such a vast majority of work within a common framework called home-based workers. The same with the traditional workers or public sector workers, or all those subdivisions within or multiple divisions within the workspaces are much beyond our vision or our reach or our calculation. And the next thing is, when you talk about times even have gone to think about a single identity of a worker or a single identity of a sector, that is representation of a worker. We have in our union many workers doing multiple jobs. They change seasonally their jobs. They change every day. They do 3-4 jobs. The multiplicities of identity as a worker in this country. Where are they going in this traditional norm that we are talking about? Is it possible for them to locate them in that particular location, per se their worker identity? It's not becoming possible. So that is not giving them. So the issue is that the new forms of workers, and another thing is that majority of the workers have no employer, either visibly or invisibly. We talk about domestic workers. All the domestic workers have visible employees, but we call always them invisibility. No, because none of the domestic workers' employees want to take the responsibility as employers in the entire process. So that means they are also self-employed, and majority of the workers, more than 50% of the workers in the organized, unorganized sector, according to the present measurement, are self-employed or on account enterprises workers. The term that we used as entrepreneurs, that we call these are all no corporate techniques that have been used to call them as entrepreneurs. They are treated on par with the big MSME enterprises, the employer category. No, they cannot be categorized under those enterprises. They are very micro, self-employed enterprises. I think I saw a comment based on that in the chat box. So the invisibility of the employer. So who is the responsible person? As again, I'm pointing to Shyam Sundarji means the responsibility of the state. How do you think about it? How do you envisage it? Is the state an employer? No, or is the state has any different role rather than from the employer in the tripartite constituencies? So in the tripartite constituency itself being questioned many times because the employer is absent many a time. So I think these are some of the complexities that the informal sector in the country is facing, and that has been doubled or tripled or multiplied during the time of COVID. And we are sitting here in this particular time where we have to think about these complexities. And I think the role of the trade unions is to start addressing these issues, because majority of the women workers, they are not calculated as workers, considered as workers. They are not in why the employment of women, participation rate of women is low in all the surveys, even in the latest periodic labor force survey. Why it is becoming so low? Because majority of the work women are employed are not at all considered as part of the labor list in this country. And also they are not considered as workers. That means the skills they have are not enlisted in the skills category of the state, of the governance process. That means they are not entitled to any of the rights that the labor force in this country have. So all these are real issues that we have to really think, really seriously ponder on, and discuss towards an alternate labor form, labor measurement, and also labor discourse, maybe including pre and present and post-corona situation. I think I'll stop here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonia George. Nice listening to you. You have raised very, very pertinent points, especially on informality and deconstructing informalization, and also how do we deal with situations where there's no employer, or there are multiple employers. So we now move on to the last discussant, Dr. Swarna Sadasivam Vepa, who's an honorary visiting professor at Madras School of Economics, Chennai. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I don't want to spend too much of time because we've already heard about all the major issues that are there in the public domain, and then we've seen how the situation is getting worse by the day. But the point which I want to make is that even before the pandemic came, the situation is pretty bad in India, and particularly in the last 10 years, even before the pandemic. What is happening? The jobs have been disappearing. They're disappearing at a very fast rate. And then, which are the jobs that are getting affected before the pandemic? Happen to be the middle-level jobs. So the technology and automation is one of the major reasons for the disappearance of the middle-level jobs. For example, a large number of factories that used to employ people are just using robots. They don't use people anymore. And so even for Maruti factory, for example, and then many workers have lost their jobs because all the factories have automated, and then they find it much more convenient to use robots and not the people. And so all the factory jobs are gone. And again, within the software sector itself, there is a sort of an upgradation of the software in such a way that you don't need a person to write a software, but the machines can do everything. And so you find a large number of software engineers who have been employed in Bangalore have become taxi drivers, because they don't have anything else to do. They become either Uber drivers or owners of taxis and started driving taxis. And a large number of people in clerical staff and also the bank workers, all of them have lost their jobs because of technology upgradation. And this, of course, has been found very convenient by the government, because anybody who has who is there in the digital platform, it becomes easy to sort of penalize those people. For example, as far as the taxes are concerned, if you look at the middle class, it is only the middle class who is paying, which constitutes about 2% of the entire population. I mean, in fact, is paying the taxes, and they are the people who have been squeezed much more, because now they say the interest rates have fallen, and then now they say we won't pay you interest on this, and a large number of senior citizens who depend upon nothing but their savings in the banks, in fact, are losing their incomes. And so the automation is basically and one of the reasons, and upgradation of the technology in such a way that you don't need workers anymore, and particularly the clerical staff, and then the people who have certain amount of technical knowledge, but not at the very higher end of the technical knowledge, have all lost their jobs. And then all of them, in fact, have shifted to having a video shops and things like that, and some of them have come down. So what the economy is doing on the whole is that instead of the upgradation of the skills and the upgradation of the workers, there's a downgradation of all the workers who in fact are coming down to a low-skilled jobs from a slightly better off jobs. So the middle-level jobs have all gone. The only thing that remains now is the lower-level jobs. I mean, that is, I'm talking about just before the pandemic. The lower-level jobs where automation is not possible. For example, you can't have a barber. It's not possible to have automation. A domestic worker, you cannot do any automation. And so only lower-end, low-paying jobs and all the middle-level jobs and where the upgradation was happening has all disappeared. And they're going very fast because of the technological upgradation that is occurring. And so there is a sort of a polarization of the entire job market, where you have the higher end jobs. I mean, those who have very high technological skills and say in artificial intelligence or say in machine learning or some such thing, they are the ones who are getting jobs. I mean, most of them abroad, and they're using them to use more and more of software, which can in fact replace even the software workers, and there is a degradation of jobs over a period of time. That has happened during the last 10 years. And now the only jobs that were left is jobs in the restaurants, jobs in the self-employment, and also the jobs where you cannot do any automation, and then the personal workers, and say the Uber drivers, and where you have to necessarily will have to have the person there, domestic workers and all. And so there's a downgradation of the entire jobs, and the middle level jobs have gone, and the unemployment has gone up already by the time we came to 2019. And now the pandemic has struck, and now the personal jobs are all gone, because the pandemic situation is the one where they say that, you cannot have a contact with the other person, and so you don't have a job. And so all the jobs at the lower level are also gone with the pandemic. And so what is left? Now what you have is only a few people. You look at the entire economy as such, you find only the capital stock is going up only the higher end service jobs. The lower end service jobs, of course, nothing is happening. And then it is happening in the manufacturing sector at the higher end. And that is where the capital is. And there is this is all growth without employment whatsoever. So what is happening? The productivity of some few workers, and most of it is going to the profits. So the 7% of the GDP that the country is in fact is showing, just before the pandemic, after that of course it's become negative, and most of it is going towards the profit. And what is driving, and what is the government is showing as a sort of a progress, is the progress of the profits and not the progress of the people, because it is not going to the people who are employed. And so this is a sort of a polarization of the jobs which has taken place in the beginning. and pandemic adding to that had made things worse, and now even the middle jobs are gone even before, and there is a sort of a downgradation, and now further it is in fact a pandemic has struck. And just want to say, I won't take very long time, I just want to say one more word about the farmers' agitation. See, the farm laws have been suspended, at least I'm sure that till the Punjab elections are over, because they don't want further problems before the elections in Punjab, and probably that's why they did not bring back those farm laws, and they have been suspended. The moment they come back in force, the Essential Commodities Act, which has been abolished, means that our food security will be affected permanently, because the traders can now can be outside the markets, and outside the markets they don't even collect information about the prices. Now at least, good or bad in the market situation, you know at what price who has say sold it, and there's a record in the market. A market has a certain dimensions in which it has to act. At least you get some data on it. I mean, you know who is selling to whom at what price the produce is being sold. But once you sort of remove that, and all the traders will run away from the markets because they have to pay the market fees within the APMC markets. I mean, I'm not saying the APMC markets are perfect markets, but at least they are there. Now it is completely, it is not into as they talk about, it's not the futures market, it is not the multi-trade exchange, a commodity exchange where it's moving. It is all moving back into a situation where you don't have a market at all, and they call it a trade area. I mean, that's what exactly the terminology which is used in the farm laws. And so in that trade area, anybody can do anything, and you cannot go to a court. Everybody, government can regulate everything. And the moment anybody wants to use a digital platform, I mean, there immediately the government will regulate. It has already been put in black and white in the farm laws. And so if you want to use technology to sort of help farmers, even that will not be possible, because now the government wants to regulate even there. And so what is going to happen is a bigger crisis of food insecurity, of the farmers not producing enough. And we may have to import from outside, may come from a surplus food grain situation of India. India may go into a situation where we do not have. The APMC markets may sort of collapse just because there isn't enough volumes in that. And again, the farmers rightly sort of fear that once everybody goes out of the APMC markets, the procurement for the food grains will be done in the open market at a much lower price, and farmers have no incentive then. I mean, they will not be able to produce enough. And so then what happens is, obviously, once the Essential Commodities Act has been repealed, and so every trader can now hold, and then the market prices may go up. And so to add to the disappearance of the jobs due to automation, which started in the last decade, and the pandemic has made it worse during this period, and a worst possible situation of food insecurity is looming large. So we are going down and down, and at least, I mean, there should be some way of sort of preventing even the country will not become food insecure. I mean, we have to wait and see, because once the laws are put in space, and what sort of reaction will occur in the economy, nothing can happen. I mean, then at least we are fortunate. And if things get worse, then I think we'll have a much worse situation. I would like to stop here because I don't want to go on and on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Swarna, for bringing the whole point of how jobs were already being lost due to automation and technology, and the downgrading of workers. And you also brought in the farmers issue and looming, food insecurity. So I think I don't think there is much time for questions. There are plenty of questions, in fact, but I think you can already see in the question and answer. But let us directly move to the way forward. I'm sorry to all those who have asked questions, but we had a very rich panel who had very important points to raise. So we'll move into just a way forward. So
we can also have Amarjeet ma'am to respond to the things which has been raised. Amarjeet ma'am, would you like to take or reflect on?
No, we can respond and give the way forward as well.
Give the way forward also.
Yeah.
With that.
So we begin with Comrade Amarjeet Kaur to respond to all these discussants and probably give some points of way forward.
I want to thank all the discussants. They all brought some new dimension to this whole webinar and made several very significant additions, sharing the personal experiences also. So I thank all the discussants. I don't want to comment on their presentations, but I definitely want to respond to a few of the queries. For example, it was being asked, are the trade unions asking for COVID to be included into occupational disease? Yes, we are asking for it. There was a question being asked that in the health sector to train more women workers in that informal economy, if they will get some more space in that. But I want to tell you, the women workers, the ASHA workers who are already there through health ministry under national scheme, they are not even being treated as workers. They are being treated as volunteers, and they are not being paid any wages. They are paid only so-called honorarium, and that too also based on incentive. It goes only up to 2,000 to 3,000 rupees per month. If incentive increases, then little more, otherwise even less than that. So situation is pretty bad. All these informal economy workers need to be addressed, and that is why minimum wages issue is very, very important when we are saying way forward. So when we are saying way forward, so one is, of course, COVID occupational disease, it should be accepted. Of course, occupational safety health issue should be a fundamental right, as Shyam Sundarji pointed it out. A way forward will be that during COVID period, when the opening up happened, maximum accident results happened. Not in the small scale sector, actually even in the corporate, governed, or even foreign companies. So it was medium industries, but larger it was by the corporates, Indian and foreign brand. So occupational safety health is going to become much more serious, because employers are simply saying, if you will come for employment, then don't ask us. We will be providing you water, we will be providing you soap, or even that minimal which they were saying sanitization to be given. Only some places you find that kind of this thing, otherwise it's not available. So in future, naturally, that will be a serious issue for way forward. Occupational safety health issue, that code is very weak. It is exclusive. We have to work hard on that. And migrant labor Act is being repealed under occupational safety health. Under that code acceptance, this act is being repealed. You can imagine how precarious is the situation for migrant workers, and occupational safety health wants to remove whatever is available. And Occupational Safety Health Act says that 10 and more establishments will be addressed. That means vast majority of all those workers, which just now our friends were talking about, from informal economy, livelihood issues, self-employed workers, etc., they all will be out of the purview, because you are talking of institutional social security. You are talking of that. Occupational safety health, you are talking of institutional. Even in social security, there is no design from where this money will come and how that money will be spent and how the registration of these workers itself will happen. It is totally vague, and the rules are further dangerous. So the way forward is to see to it that this is repealed. The way forward is that we support the farmers for repealing of those agri laws. Then also repealing the that bill, amendment bill, which they have brought for electricity, that needs to be repealed. And then there was a question in regard to Ayushman. I must tell you that this is only a क्या बोलना चाहिए हाथी के दांत, बड़े बड़े white elephant. No, you don't get OPD facility in Ayushman. What you get is until and unless you are admitted into hospital, nothing comes out to you. So Ayushman is inaccessible for the people in practical sense. There is no time for me to explain to you, but it's just that so-called Ayushman Bharat scheme of the government is a non-starter, I should say. State after state, we can give you facts and figures how the people could not access Ayushman Bharat at all, even during COVID period. Then somebody asked the question that how to the migrant workers, the difficulty when they were in hardship and they were walking and all, how could it be tackled? It was very easy. Our Indian Railways could cater to more than 2 crore people every day, from one corner of India to another corner of India. Bangladesh, a small country, could give 4 days. South Africa gave 3 days. Another country gave 7 days. For this kind of lockdown, the Prime Minister gave 4 hours. If there would have been 7 days, only 500 cases were there per day. Only 500. Now we have lost 25 lakh people. Government says only 4 lakh. The figures are 25 lakh. And the cases are coming lakhs and lakhs every day. And now the lockdown is limited, state to state, district to district. That was the kind of criteria they should have followed at that time, when only 500 to 600 cases were there per day. So instead of 4 days, they should have said, take 7 days. Those who are in pilgrimage, those who are due to health reasons, those who are students, those who are workers, we are going to do total shutdown. Go back to your places where you want to go. Government said, किराया नहीं लेंगे, आप वहीं रहो जब तक लॉकडाउन है. बट किराया तो उनको देना था, पैसा हाथ में नहीं था, उनको तो पैदल चलना था. So the government did not consult anybody and took that ruthless step, which was not even advised by World Health Organization. World Health Organization was totally against this kind of a lockdown. So if you say how their hardship and the physical difficulties they faced during that period, during their movements, then it was thinking of the government. It seems as if intentionally they wanted to punish our working people and other sections of the society. So it was possible. Then they are asking how to deal in this COVID-19 situation when our working population has to be working. After all, the jobs, employment, livelihood is a question. There should be free vaccination of all. Why the government did not give orders? Why this so-called this Vista program, 23,000 crore being spent over there? And now in this vaccination, government is making earning of the corporates. Government is buying at the rate of 150 rupees per vaccine. And this is being sold in 3 rates in the private sector, 780 rupees, 1200 rupees, 1400 something rupees. Why 25% of the vaccines are being given to the private sector to be sold like this? Why all the people who are working, who have to be immediately in work situations because livelihood situation is there, why not free vaccination to all of them on priority basis? Nothing is being done because I told you government is ruthless, spineless and criminal in their decisions. And from that point of view, I would say free vaccination to all. Vaccination should have been procured by September, October this year, but we do not know even up till next year we will be able to have the first dose completed or not. What to talk of second dose? Second dose, very few number of people have up till now. Looking at the population of country they have got. So that is an answer how to deal with COVID-19. Work has to go on, but then the COVID protocol comes when any of us 10 or 15 or 100 or 200 people want to protest, the protocol is shown to us. And you will not show protocol when you allow people to gather without any kind of this thing, either in election meetings or in Kumbh Melas or in Shahi Ishnans or any other thing. Now only because the world over, there was a damaging image of India, and now on Kavar they have said that the Kavar Yatra will not happen. But for anybody to protest and come out in street following COVID protocol also, they will immediately use Disaster Management Act to curtail any kind of voice, saner voice, opposition, questioning the government. Interestingly, in Delhi, a few people only took out a poster to say, where is our vaccine? Why it is exported? And the cases were filed against them. So paranoia, government, there is paranoia in government's understanding. So how to deal with, there was a question. So the way forward gets added into it. And that way forward is that free vaccination to all. If we have to go forward, economy has to run, everything has to open. So people should be priority basis, the front rank fighters, of course, and then the workers where the opening up has happened. So there should be that kind of a thing. Social security to be ensured to everybody. Present Act doesn't address that. That will be issue for way forward. People should not be allowed to die hungry. As I told already about universal rationing system to be there, 10 kilo of ration to all these families. More than 80 crore of population should be covered in that, to the tune of about 120 crore, I should say. Somebody asked about women labor force was 34% in 2006, and then in 2020 it was 24.8%. Let me tell you, it has come down. Now it is only 17%. And with the latest situation, when women are not able to rejoin their work, I don't know, it will be going back. So the wheel is turning in the backward direction. All the women who were brought into economy are once again rushing in backward direction, not because they want to, as because the situation is doing that way. Then Manrega, of course, the days must be increased to 200 plus, and there 201 to be increased to minimum wage level, state to state, and Urban Employment Guarantee Act should be promulgated in Parliament. If we say way forward, then we need to have urban employment guarantee also like Manrega, and the money in Manrega should increase. That is demand-based act. Here also in urban employment, it should be demand-based act. That is, I would suggest when we talk about that. And I agree with those who said that pre-pandemic itself, job situation was pretty bad. Yes, from demonetization onwards, the situation was going out of hand. Demonetization, then GST, and then this COVID came. Government's every step has brought further miseries. Government thought that they will throw every responsibility of job losses on COVID situation, but it's not so. Even in 2015, their minister in Parliament, in answer to one of the questions, said when previous to that year, in 2013, the governments had given jobs to the tune of 16 lakh people. In 2015, they had to admit that they could provide jobs only to 1 lakh. So you can understand the things were going bad from 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and with demonetization and GST, situation had worsened already. And on that, then you see this pandemic coming. And let us not forget, during elections, there was a campaign that highest unemployment rate in 45 years, and the government refused to accept. As soon as they took oath in 2019, the government had to release those figures. They were saying opposition is telling lie, but then the government released the report and accepted that this is unemployment rate highest in 45 years. So the government which runs on camouflage and big lies, what is the way forward? Fighting is the way forward. Uniting is the way forward. Changing the government policies, pushing and developing a movement to change that, as I said, their development paradigm, their whole understanding. And in that, I think we cannot isolate workers' issues from the issues of farmers, or the issues of social activists, or the issues of human rights activists, or the issues of those who are fighting for democracy, or the women groups, or those who are fighting for child labor rights, or those who are working only in informal economy workers. You cannot isolate these issues. All these issues need to be combined. We will work in our area more extensively, but we need to build bridges with all these sections, and let us understand, until and unless we assert that our voices have to be heard, you have to hear it, that the things won't move. And fortunately, a Supreme Court recently in 2-3 issues has come forward as far as the voices of people need to be heard, and the voices of migrant workers to be heard through the social activists and those who went to the court for those cases. So I will never agree that trade unionism means non-politics. I would always say the trade unions are free of political parties, free from governments, free from managements, but they have a politics of working class, politics of vulnerable masses, politics of poor, downtrodden sections, and their politics is to ask their share of the cake in the economy, and the policies will be designed in a way that they are reflected there and they get their kitty, their portion, they should get it. So that politics, we are never away. And that politics, every section of the society who is fighting under Indian Constitution, that politics remains with everybody. They may not be doing the politics of a particular political party. They may be having different political opinions, but the politics of the poor masses has to be there. So as a working class politics, as a trade unionist from AITUC, the oldest organization in this country, I wish to assure you we are trying all the trade unions to be together as a platform, trying to outreach other sections of the society. And this is how we think the way forward is to fight and challenge this government, and you tell them, don't think you can't be challenged. The biggest example is our farmers movement. For 8 months they are there, नाक में दम कर रखा है सरकार के, वो सुने या नहीं सुने लेकिन नाक में दम तो है उनके, और underneath they know it कि they are very shaky, and election after election they have started losing. So we may not be so visible because media is not with us, but our work at the grassroots level of the unions, of the farmers and other sections of the society is getting reflected, that the people have started rejecting the ruling party's claims to be permanent rulers anywhere. So the way forward is to tell them that you are not the permanent rulers. Rule for the people who are voting for you. Do not rule under the dictates of corporates and only for them. If you try to do that, governments came and went back. So in 2024, you will have to also to look in which direction you have to go, because the people are not going to tolerate these kinds of policies, which goes against ethos of our Indian Constitution, as well as our freedom fighters who attained independence for us from the colonial rulers, the British rulers. So we will challenge Modi government in all aspects. And that is the way forward, uniting, fighting, and going ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Amarjeet Kaur. It's already 8 o'clock. So we shall have just a quick word of way forward from the discussants. Yes, Professor Shyam Sundar.
Yeah, I just have 3 points. Point number 1, trade unions must demand the government to implement all the policies that are in consonance with the ILO labor standards. the primary thing is employment policy, labor policy, social policy, environmental policy, and OSH policy. That is point number one. Number two, visibilize millions of workers who are suffering not for their fault, and the registered workers, unregistered workers dichotomy must perish. There must be universal registration of all workers. So visibilize the invisible workers. Number three, as Comrade Amarjeet Kaur has very rightly pointed out, labor rights cannot be seen in isolation from the global perspective of human rights. Labor rights is a subset of human rights, and there should be, I call upon the trade unions to be the vanguard of the social movement unionism and create labor rights as a subset of human rights and fight for a global sustainable livelihood. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Shyam Sundar. Now, डॉक्टर शरद कुमारी जी, आप कुछ बोलना चाहते हैं? आगे कैसे हम बढ़ सकते हैं? एक दो पॉइंट।
निश्चित रूप से दो साथियों ने काफी महत्वपूर्ण बातें कह दी हैं। मैं सिर्फ जोड़ना चाहूंगी, चूंकि कुछ प्रश्न आए थे हेल्थ को लेके भी, तो जो पीएचसी लेवल, जो प्राथमिक स्वास्थ्य केंद्र हैं, उनके स्तर पर बजट को कैसे बढ़ाया जाए और उन्हें कैसे सुचारू और सक्रिय किया जाए, इस मुद्दे को लेके भी हम लोगों को आगे जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि जो महामारी का दौर है, आगे भी क्या रहेगा ये कहना बहुत कठिन है। तो जो श्रमिक वर्ग है उसके लिए वो प्राथमिक स्वास्थ्य केंद्र का मजबूत होना, सक्रिय होना बहुत ही जरूरी है। इसके अलावा ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में मनरेगा का अभी भी बहुत महत्व है। उसका जो बजट जिस तरीके से कम हुआ है पिछले दिनों, तो उसके बजट को बढ़ाया जाए और उसको और विस्तार दिया जाए, उसको और रेगुलर किया जाए। रेगुलर इन सेंस की जैसे अगर काम, एक तो काम मिलने का सिस्टम जो उसका है उसको कैसे और बढ़ा सकते हैं, और जो काम मिलता है लोगों को समय पर उसके पैसे मिल सकें, तो उसका एक तो बजट बढ़ाया जाए और उसको और विस्तारित रूप से सक्रिय किया जाए। तो ये ग्रामीण क्षेत्र के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। इसके अलावा जो मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि स्वामीनाथन कमेटी ने जिस प्रकार से किसानों के लिए जो भी रिकमेंडेशन दिए, और उसमें खासकर महिला किसानों के लिए जो दिए, उन चीजों को लागू किया जाए, इसके लिए हमें जरूर बात रखनी चाहिए। और आखिरी जो दो बात मैं जोड़ना चाहूंगी कि एजुकेशन को भी हमें इसमें जोड़ना चाहिए। वो बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है कि उसके बजट को हम देखें कि जिस प्रकार से एजुकेशन का भी बजट लगातार कम होता रहा है, क्योंकि वो हमारे सारे संघर्ष का की बुनियाद है। अगर हमारा शिक्षा ही नहीं नीचे से आ पा रही है, ये हमारे संघर्ष को भी कहीं ना कहीं कमजोर करता है। ये जो पूरे वर्ग संघर्ष की लड़ाई है, इसमें भी हम सबको एकजुट होना होगा। जैसा कि कॉमरेड ने कहा है कि चाहे वह यूनियन में हो, बहुत ही सुंदर उदाहरण उन्होंने दिया कि आशा वर्कर्स तो यूनियन में हैं, लेकिन उन्हें जब श्रमिक नहीं माना जाता है, तो असंगठित क्षेत्र के जो अन्य श्रमिक हैं, जो अन्य महिलाएं श्रमिक हैं, उनको तो मानने की बात बहुत दूर है। तो हम सबों को कैसे एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर आके ये पूरी लड़ाई एक मानवाधिकार की लड़ाई के रूप में लड़ी जानी चाहिए, ये एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। इस पर हमें बातचीत करनी चाहिए, रणनीति बनानी चाहिए। शुक्रिया।
Father, I just want to make only one sentence statement.
Okay. Just
Comrade Amarjeet Kaur ji, I want to give a slogan to the trade union movement: "Jobs for jobs."
Okay. We go to Dr. Swarna Vepa ji.
Okay. I just want to just make 2 points. The first one is that the government has stopped having the national sample survey, which was conducted every year, and now they haven't even published the last national sample survey, which has been conducted in 15-16, because they found that the poverty rates are very high, and after that they stopped collecting, and employment data has not been collected at all, because questions will be asked about the unemployment. But then if you don't know anything about what is happening, the everybody will be in the dark, including the government. And so government will not be able to sort of do anything about it. And so the first thing is to sort of revive the national sample surveys, which are being conducted every year, so that we do get some information about what is happening. And that's number one. And number two is about the minimum support price, the MSP, should be legalized, as the farmers are in fact are demanding. And then, as Swaminathan Commission recommended, it should be double that of the cost of production of seed, because right now they only look at the operational cost of A2, and over that they'll give only 50%, which means that the Indian farmers are losing out compared to the rest of the world, and they're not even getting, it is minus 4% according to the, well, everybody else is giving up to 50% of the sort of cost of production, or the incomes of the farmers are coming from the government in all the other countries. In India, it is minus 4.5%. I mean, I've just brought out the details in one of my papers, but I mean, it's a known fact. And so the point is that the way forward is to MSP must be legalized, and then at least a remunerative price of at least double the cost of production is had to be given. And this is my recommendation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swarna, and all Comrade Amarjeet Kaur. I think Dr. Sonia George has already left us. So just a couple of points I would like to make is that I think we are at a very, very critical stage as far as employment is concerned, but there are good signs, just as there have been resistance to this this attack on labor, and so many protests have taken place. The farmers are on the streets, and just as Comrade Amarjeet Kaur was saying, that what is needed is not to look at each one as farmers or workers and so on. We need to build bridges to bring about a new paradigm of economy and new paradigm of labor economics, which ensures decent work according to the ILO standards, ensure that occupational health and safety is a right for all, ensure that there is the registration of all workers. We should not have some workers registered and some unregistered and so on and so forth, which is depriving workers of their benefits. There should be recognition of various kinds of work. Even the laws, the codes are exclusionary. There are limits, only those enterprises with 10 workers and so on and so forth are going to benefit. So such exclusionary type of laws has to be reworked and rethought. Of course, as far as the COVID is concerned, free vaccination for all, that has already come. Universal social security. So social security again is very, very exclusive to a few people. So social security for all, universal PDS, Manrega should be strengthened and even extended to the urban areas. So there are several good suggestions that have come as way forward. I think I call upon IMPRI to go through this recording and cull out all these important suggestions, and probably we could have more and more sessions more specifically to certain specific issues, so that we may be able to come up with some comprehensive policy that includes all workers, and so that everybody benefits, all workers benefit, and that, as Comrade Amarjeet Kaur said, the trade unions are more than happy to negotiate. Of course, they have not been made part of the negotiations for the labor codes. I hope if the trade unions are involved more and more, we will be able to have a more just labor system in our country. And especially another good point that has come is that absence of credible data. So this is another very critical point. Policies cannot be made in the dark without data. So over to you, Dr. Arjun Kumar, to take things forward in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair, for our very interesting session. So let me quickly propose a formal vote of thanks. So on behalf of IMPRI Center for Work and Welfare at IMPRI Impact and Policy Research Institute and Counterview, we are so thankful for all of you for joining here for our series, The State of Employment and Livelihood, #employment debate. And today we really focused on trade unions' perspective and the way forward amidst this coronavirus pandemic. And our speaker for the day, Amarjeet Kaur ma'am, thank you for putting so much of data insights and all the things, also for enlightening all our viewers. Thank you very much, ma'am. We are also very thankful to the chair of our session, Dr. Denzil Fernandes, sir, for spearheading this, I would say, very interesting but tough discussion also, because so many of experts also getting in, and we also got so many of questions. And of course, our thanks to our mentor, Professor K.R. Shyam Sundar sir, Sharad Kumari ma'am, Sonia George ma'am, and Dr. Swarna Vepa ma'am. Thank you for your inputs, and thank you everyone, those who have been joining here on Zoom and Facebook Live, and later watch on YouTube and listen on our podcast. I would also like to thank our participants and students from XLRI for putting forth so many of interesting questions, which I will share with all our panelists over email very soon, so that, and if there'll be any chance, you can also respond to them, so that they can also enlighten, and they're young researchers in this field, so it will be very helpful. So once again, let me thank all of you, and it was very interesting session today, and thank you again so much, Amarjeet Kaur ma'am, for sparing your time and enlightening all of us. Thank you, and I wish you all a very good night, and please take care. Thank you.